Good evening, Burlington City and County government officials. I'm OMalley, your Regional Emergency Coordinator. This quick brief is to update you on the continued threat from our recent winter storm, important changes in the situation, and what steps you need to take to mitigate the risk. The National Weather Service states that the entire New England region has a massive cold front approaching. For the next 5 days, this cold front will drop our daytime temperatures to around 10 degrees, combined with high winds steadily at 15 kilometers per hour, which will drive the windshields even lower. Up to this point, the storm has caused a reported 10 deaths. These deaths are a combination of hypothermia and the improper use of alternative heating sources. There has also been reported to be over 30 injuries due to the icy conditions that are still prevalent outside. The Emergency Mutual Assistance Agreement has been submitted to the governor. In it, I requested that the state provide additional snow removal equipment and personnel. This will be facilitated between those currently in the state that are not in high demand, as well as contracting additional equipment from companies outside the state. The help of the National Guard in terms of heavy equipment to reach the stranded citizens of our area, as well as power generation equipment to facilitate running the EOC, hospitals, and shelters has also been requested. Along with this assistance, I request that the state continue to assist us with dealing with the NGOs and FEMA to fully support our shelters and ensure that they are fully stocked with all necessary supplies, as well as clarify that the state would be responsible for covering the cost of the 12-hour work shifts that the governor instituted previously. Schools and airports will remain closed, continuing to trap close to 100 personnel in the airport. This will continue as a majority of the roads within the state are closed and will remain so until the Department of Transportation has a chance to improve the safety of the roads. I advise that travel restrictions still remain in effect for all personnel, except for essential personnel and for emergency situations only. The only deviation to this that I recommend is that those people whose roads have already been plowed, instruct them to transport themselves and any neighbors they can to the shelters. We need to continue to improve the Emergency Operations Center to continue developing a common operating picture of the developing situation, especially now that the National Guard and FEMA are involved, and ensure that we can maintain it as the recovery efforts continue. The improvement of the EOC is a never-ending process. There's always something that can be improved. We need to continue to develop, resource, and bring stranded citizens to the shelters that have been established for them. Review the evacuation worksheet for recommendations that should be used and things to think about when communicating the evacuation to the citizens. Currently, many citizens do not want to evacuate, and this is understandable, but we must stress to them the importance of evacuation. We also cannot expect to show up at their door and have them leave immediately. Give them some notice of when they must link up for evacuation and the necessary steps they should take to prepare. Many people will not leave their pets or animals behind as they evacuate. Currently, our shelters do not accommodate for animals. Due to the Pets Act, we must start to develop a shelter plan that encompasses them. Those with livestock, we must inform them that they must shelter their animals the best they can and ensure that they have enough food and water for up to a week. At that point, we should be able to let them go back and check on them. Those with pets that can be evacuated, the owners must provide enough food to go with them, as pet food will not be provided at the shelters. The animals must also be on a leash, and the owners need to provide a copy of their immunization records at the shelter upon arrival. We must also ease the fears of citizens about looting and the potential loss of everything they own while they are in the shelters. Police are already reporting that break-ins and looting are on the rise. We must develop a plan that will prevent these actions and allow people to leave their homes without fear. Part of this might be instituting a curfew in the evacuated areas and ensuring that the police are more visible. A plan must also be developed to stop the price gouging that is being reported. While supplies are already limited, it is not the time for some people to take advantage of those in need. Part of this can and will be settled by establishing an effective shelter network. Getting the 911 infrastructure back up and running is still the top priority. This will be exceedingly difficult with the power infrastructure down. Continue to work on alternatives for the citizens to reach the authorities when an emergency takes place. As more generators are in place and the National Guard brings in communication gear, this might be possible. First responders need to continue their focus on locations where personnel are most at risk, i.e. the nursing homes, location where children might be stranded, and where the power has been out the longest, such as the rural areas. The 2,000 statewide National Guard soldiers will also be able to assist with the evacuation, as well as work with the first responders and Velco. Ensure that you are communicating with the governor's office and the leaders of the National Guard on ground to determine what each entity's lanes are and what the leadership structure is. Having more people to help isn't helpful if they can't be utilized properly. Velco has assessed there to be several miles of power lines on the ground and approximately 26,500 critical parts that have been damaged. They currently have 100% of their available personnel working around the clock to fix the power grid, and FEMA and the state are doing what they can to provide assistance. They're still having difficulties acquiring the replacement parts that they need to fix the power grid, but they have contacted companies around the country to assist. Now that they know and understand the extent of the damage, they can start to develop a better way ahead to address the problems. That being said, they still require a lot of assistance from you to make this happen. They can't effectively reach the down power lines and equipment without proper plow support. You must ensure that you are giving them the necessary support to reach the areas that they need to access. Without your assistance, they can't complete their work, which will endanger more lives. Ensure that you are integrated in all that they do to ensure as quick of recovery as possible. It has been brought to my attention that our press releases aren't reaching everyone. Because of this lack of information, fear and anger have taken over. Because of this, we need to develop other ways to spread the message. This should include sending out our first responders to knock on doors and deliver our message. This can also be used to give the residents warning for the evacuation and what they need. We need to ensure that they know when they evacuate, they must have enough toiletries, medication, clothes, and blankets for about a week. Let the citizens know that we're doing everything that we can to make the roads safe again and restore power, but there is still a need to evacuate, as this will take some time. Let the citizens know that the first priority for roads is the urban areas, and that shelters will continue to be established in the rural areas to assist them. Remind them that injuries can and will be compounded by the fact that first responders will have a difficult time getting to them, which is another reason they must evacuate to the shelters. We must also continue to push the dangers of using alternate heating sources and the steps that need to be taken to make them safe, as there has already been several fires caused by them. We must also continue to inform our citizens about keeping their water running to ensure that their pipes don't freeze, as this has already happened to countless individuals. With your continued help and proper coordination with FEMA, we should all safely make it through the recovery of this winter storm.